This is a simple story, but it's true, and happened to me. A few years ago, I was 30 years old, and my grandmother had just died. My mother, aunt, and I were staying in my grandmother's home in suburban Atlanta, making funeral arrangements and caring for her home in the immediate aftermath of her death. It was, I believe, the night after the day she died, and we had all gone to bed. Each of us had our own bedrooms on the second floor of the house. I was close to falling asleep when I distinctly heard two voices speaking. It sounded like two people were talking downstairs. One voice was more easily to make out as a woman. The other, I'm not sure. They were having a conversation at a normal volume, but I couldn't make out anything that was being said. It was just murmuring. Strangely, I was not bothered by this at all. I was completely calm and eventually fell asleep. The next morning I woke up and had forgotten all about it. Later that afternoon, my mother, aunt, and I were driving somewhere. We were all silent until all of a sudden, my very reserved, pragmatic aunt said only, "I heard people talking in the house last night." It was only then that I remembered. I told her that I heard them too. My mother, whose bedroom was right next to mine, did not. We didn't say much more about it, and I think it made my aunt uncomfortable. I didn't want to press her right after her mom died. We never talked about it again, and my aunt this year died herself. I've thought about the occurrence more and more lately. There's just no way it could have been actual people speaking. Her house was set back from the road in a quiet neighborhood. What I really can't understand is why I wasn't scared when it happened. It's so bizarre. Also, if my aunt not said anything, I don't think I would have even remembered. Even though now I can remember it so clearly. I've never had anything like that happen before. One of my friends told me to post this here, so I will. I've had a bunch of different crazy experiences. First one, always when I was younger, I used to cause my parents stress. I was wild for a bit, and things are better now. But whenever myself and my parents would have a terrible fight, I mean like awful, the lights in our kitchen would start to flicker. Only when it was really bad and never did before. My mom's mom passed away. We knew it was always her. And that made us stop. Never do they ever flicker now or did before. Second, when I was either doing bad shit or feeling depressed, when I'd go to bed, I'd feel like someone walking on my bed and rubbing my hair or touching me on the shoulder. And if I was lying sideways, they would hug me. Sometimes I'd feel cold air winding across, and sometimes they would walk on the couch. My friend who told me to post this felt something walking, and since then he believes me. Yeah, I know how it sounds. It must be crazy, right? These things would only happen at certain times in my life. So yeah, that's my experience. As for my mom, once when she was younger, her sister stole something from a grave. Then in the night, something came into her room and started whistling. This happened a little while back in 2016. I was in the 3rd grade. Me and my older brother just got home from school. Once we got into the house, we both walked up to our room and started changing out of our school clothes. As I was taking off my backpack, I decided to look out the window, on the 2nd floor by the way. And I remember vividly seeing a black figure dressed with a trench coat, with a hat standing in the middle of the road, looking out our window. I stared at it for like 2 seconds before a car drove by, which then it disappeared. A few hours later, it's nighttime around 9 p.m. Not sure, but me and my brother was in the living room playing cars too, because we were waiting on our dad and stepmom to get home. And the only light on in the house was the dining room light. As we were playing, I remember the loading screen coming up, and it was black for a little bit. But then I remember seeing a foot step out from the kitchen, which then I quickly grabbed my older brother and we ran upstairs and closed the bedroom door. I can't remember which of what happened after that. All I know is I fell asleep and remembering my dad opening the door. So a few days ago, I was watching TV, maybe around noon. Husband was at work, daughter was at school, and my mother-in-law was taking a nap. I hear 3 clear knocks for what sounded like our front door. Even my dog, a German Shepherd, she heard it. She did a long growl and a soft bark and ran to the window. So I get up to answer the door, but no one was there, or walking away or anything. Our garage door was open, so I go out there with my dog just in case someone was there, but there was nobody there. I just kind of brushed it off though. Now tonight my mother-in-law and I were playing cards in our four-season porch with the door closed. My husband was inside watching TV. I heard him yell out, "What?" And I figured he was talking to our cats, because they can get annoying. But he came out and tells us he clearly heard our daughter say, "Mom, Dad," in a drawn-out soft voice. He thought it was her and yelled, "What?" And when she didn't answer, he looked in her room and obviously she wasn't there. I'm really on the fence about the paranormal. I feel like there's too much for it all just to be brushed off as fake, but I believe many are fake or unexplainable. I'm not a religious person either, so I really just want to brush it off as I'm hearing things. But I also know he wouldn't have said anything in front of our daughter if he thought it was possible he was hearing things, and he was sure he heard her. Also, the knocking my dog and I heard it all seems very strange. Now, I'm okay with a ghost, but if something is mimicking my daughter, that kind of scares me. Anyone have any thoughts or opinions on this? Okay, background. Let me say first, I'm not terribly fanciful. Neither is my dad, who works as a CFO/CPA lawyer for a public company. When my siblings and I were little, we all thought we saw a ghost in my sister's room after recently moving into the house. We were all younger than 7 at the time. My sister always felt ill at ease in her room, to the point she cried whenever my parents made her sleep in her own room for many years. She specifically remembers one time where she was sleeping, and then someone who she thought was my dad carrying her downstairs and putting her in the living room armchair. She specifically remembers that she kind of woke up and was angry that my dad brought her downstairs. She woke up in the chair the next morning by my dad, who asked her why she was sleeping downstairs, and she said he never brought her downstairs. As far as ghost origin, the house is old, so there could be stories we don't know of. We know there was a Native American tribe in the area, and we know the house used to be on an orchard. We also know in the 70s, a resident of the house left angrily after a fight, zoomed his car down the drive, went over the curb, and hit and killed a young boy across the street who was playing with one of those pop fake lawnmowers. We also know the house was built in the 1870s, and when my grandparents renovated the upstairs bathroom, they found a letter that was sent to a local church nailed inside the wall. My parents have that letter framed at the house. The event that happened yesterday. Now to the event that happened yesterday. My mom and dad were home, and my dad was in the attic. He went down to the second floor and into my parents' room. When he saw a movement move on the other side of the room that leads to the hallway of my sister's room, it was a figure in what he thought was my mom's pajamas. Go from my sister's room area to my brother's room/bathroom, right in the hallway. He called my mom's name. Nothing. So he went and checked out the hallway, then heard my mom downstairs. He did not see anything in any of the rooms. He went downstairs, and my mom said he looked visibly spooked. The scariest part of this story for me is it happened to my dad, who is not one for striking fancies. And he swears he saw something move, wearing some sort of pattern, move across in his line of vision. He got LASIK eye surgery a few years ago, so he has really good vision. I don't know, it's kind of creepy.
redemption, honesty is the one